Hey there everyone, it's Missy with Magnificent Method. This is video number 2 of sex positive parenting. This video is for older kids, teenage kids, ages 13, 14 and up, high school aged. I'm going to go over a few points about sexuality, and what I'd like to start with is your mom, your dad, whomever your guardian is, I guarantee is a little bit freaked out about this. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be seeing a video, you'd probably just be talking to them. And so what I want to say is that not only do they have a responsibility to you, you have a responsibility to them. And your responsibility to them is to kind of make it okay for them because they don't want to screw up. You know, moms and dads and grandmas and grandpas and all these people that are, responsible for having this conversation with you, their biggest fear is that they'll do something wrong or that they'll give you some misinformation and that somehow it's going to screw your life up. And so what I can say to you is the more cool you are about this, the more cool they'll be about this, okay? And so the very first thing that I do want to talk about is consent, okay? And so we've all heard this word before, and so what does it really mean to have consent? And so consent means that I give you my permission to touch my body, right? Or you give me your permission for me to touch your body. So consent is usually something that I talk to adults about, but given the circumstances, I absolutely want to talk to you all about this. And so I do want to say that I think that it's inappropriate for children to have sex. I think that it's inappropriate for children to be in situations emotionally or physically that they can't handle. I do not think that children aged 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 are capable of handling the repercussions of sex physically or emotionally. And so physical repercussions for sex are making a baby. You can make a human being, and that's terrible when you're a teenager. Lots of people have done it. Some people have done it successfully. That doesn't mean that you need to do that, right? Don't do that, okay? Repercussion number 2, emotional trauma, right? And so what a lot of kids don't know is that just like your iPhone is designed to maximize and minimize screens, right? Girls, females' bodies are designed to fall in love with whoever it is that they're having sex, whether it's a good guy or a bad guy, right? Boys, on the other hand, are not designed in that same way. And so this is when you kind of hear about, Joey had sex with Susie and never called her back again, or then he went and talked to all the other boys about it, and, now she can't show up to school for a week because she's mortified, That's why that happens. It's because you're not emotionally responsible enough to handle the repercussions of what happens in that space, right? And so consent means I set clear boundaries and you know exactly what my boundaries are. And so if you're 14, 15, 16, depending on what your parents think, depending on how your family rolls, okay, your mom and dad might think it's cool to make out with your boyfriend when you're 16 or 17, and that's none of my business. But what I'm saying is that if you don't think it's cool, pump the brakes on it, right? So say, for instance, you think it's okay to make out with your boyfriend, and then he wants to put his hand down your pants. If you haven't set a clear boundary with him, if you haven't spoken about it before, and he does that, and suddenly he's this bad guy and he's getting slapped in the face, that's not okay. So you're both wrong in that. He's wrong for pushing you too far, and you're wrong for not letting him know what too far was, okay? And so you have, not only do you have the ability, you have the authority and you have the power to say very clearly, I'm cool with making out, but that's it, and I mean it, right? And if he's not going to respect you in that way, tell him to kick rocks. You might be emotionally invested in that person, but if he's not respecting you, he's not going to respect you in the future either. I can promise you that. Send him along his merry way, okay? Set very, very clear boundaries. So your parents set clear boundaries with you, right? Like they say, I want you home at 9:59 instead of 10:01, right? That's a very clear boundary. You have the same ability to set the clear boundary with whoever your boyfriend or your girlfriend is, okay? Now, I will say that sex does feel good. It feels incredible, actually. It's wonderful, and it's lovely, and it's beautiful when you're an adult and you can handle it emotionally and physically. You can handle, the reproductive side of things. you can handle going to the doctor. And so what I will say is that if you're uncomfortable having a conversation with your partner about sex, you're not ready to have sex. If you're uncomfortable with talking to your parents about sex, you're not ready to have sex. If you have no way to get your hands on condoms or birth control, you are not ready to have sex. You're too immature. And so being immature is not lame and it's not wrong. It's just a stage in life. So just like, when a baby was learning to walk, they had to fall down about 150 times before they figured out how to stand up and being able to walk. You're doing this with your sexuality right now. And so nobody thinks that it's weird or awkward that, you're going through this stuff right now. But you have to understand that this is a stage on a very long journey into, full-on sexuality. Once again, it's beautiful and it feels great when you're able to handle the responsibilities. And so it does feel good. And so you have a responsibility to yourself to take care of yourself. And so guys, I know that you have a different set of reproductive organs than girls do. And so when you're sexually stimulated, it shows, right? And so you have a bunch of different ways that you can handle that. But what I want to say to you, boys, and I want to say to girls as well, masturbation is your friend. It's perfectly healthy and it's perfectly okay. It's not going to fall off, right? You're not going to go blind. You're not going to grow hair on your palms. That's all crap that grown-ups say because they're terrified of, people shaming you. They don't want people to shame you, so they tell you that stuff. And so it's okay to be turned on. For real, it is. It's okay to take care of it yourself. It's not okay for somebody else to help you take care of it when you're not ready. Okay? You're going to do that privately in your bedroom, in your bathroom. If you live in a house with a bunch of people, please don't take up 19 hours in the bathroom because it's very rude, right? But whatever you do in your personal space and your personal time, good for you. Keep going. It's so healthy. It's so good for you. Last and not least, I want to talk about shaming. And so when you're older, we talk about shaming, and it's pretty widely accepted that adults just do whatever they're going to do. And when you have two consenting adults, it's perfectly okay. This looks a lot different for kids. And so if you're in high school and Joey slept with Susie and then he went and told everybody in the football team, that's slut shaming Susie when Joey has done the same exact thing. Or you have this little clique of girls and a girl that you really don't like has been talked about and it's a rumor that she's done something with somebody and you're like, oh, ew, she's got loose morals or loose values and she's this and she's that and all of these terrible names that we say. What I will tell you is that there's something called the basic law of attraction. And if you've taken a physics class, you know that for every action, there's an equal reaction. And so this happens in life too. And so for every time you're shaming somebody, somebody's going to shame you. Every time you're being down and dirty about somebody's going to be down and dirty about you. Every time you gossip about somebody, somebody's going to gossip about you. Please believe it. And so if you want to eliminate that from your life, don't be that guy. Don't be the bad guy. Don't be mean to somebody else. And I'm not talking about bullying because I think that everybody can really stand up for themselves and we could probably fix that pretty quickly. I'm talking about shaming people who don't deserve it. And so what's the worst possible thing that could happen to somebody is that they're pushed out. So we're tribal animals, right? And so the very worst thing that can happen to a human being is that they're pushed out of the tribe. And so this is why kids lose their minds and shoot up schools and go crazy, right? It's because they don't feel like they belong to the crowd. And they legitimately don't belong to the crowd because the crowd has pushed them away, okay? And so you have the choice. If you don't want anybody to treat you like that, the golden rule, right? Treat others as though you would like to be treated, how you would like to be treated. Don't shame other kids because they're going to shame you if you do. If you hold yourself to a higher standard and you're like, one, I'm not a gossip. Two, I'm not shaming somebody else. You don't know what really happened behind closed doors. You don't know what happened. If you can't verify it, don't talk about it. Simple enough, right? Now, last but not least, talk to your mom and dad, talk to your grandma and grandpa, whoever you're talking to about this. If you don't have someone you trust to talk to, find someone you trust. Whether it be a school counselor, whether it be a friend's mom, whether it be an aunt or an uncle, or your doctor, please be talking to somebody about this. If you have questions, Sometimes when you Google stuff, you get bad information. You want to verify this information with a trusted adult. And so, that being said, if something bad does happen, you must, hear my words, you must talk about it to somebody. Somebody who's responsible, somebody who's an adult, and somebody who can get you help. Bad stuff does happen sometimes, not often, but if it does happen, you don't want to keep that to yourself. You certainly want to talk to somebody about that. You can message me, and I will help you get in contact with whomever it is that you need to get in contact with, okay? My email address is themagnificentwoman@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can inbox me, whatever you need to do. You have resources available to you, okay? So that being said, thanks for your time. If you have any other questions or concerns or comments, you can just, as I said before, contact me. I will get back to you. This is Missy with The Magnificent Method, and this is how we live a sex-positive life. We're nice to each other, and we give good information, right? Okay, thanks for your time. Have a great day. Bye.